The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to base hit. Just as the score of the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Forbes Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Racker throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run! The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires, ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Gets hit back.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
Well, good morning, everybody, and Surprise! Welcome to the Dan Scott Show. It has been a couple of weeks, but we're glad to be here. Glad to have you with us, and hope that over the course of the next hour, we can both inform and entertain, and probably learn something we did not know by the time the show is done, and that always starts here in this chair. It is a beautiful day here in the upstate of South Carolina. I hope it's that way where you are. And you know, our goal here every day, if you're off to a good start, we don't want to do anything to mess that up. If maybe it's a little slow for you, we'll see if we can't provide a little bit of a lift by the time the show is done. Got a good one for you today, chiefly because Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com will be here. And, man, there's a lot of news to get to, not only Virginia in the Final Four, Duke not in the Final Four, but the news became official this morning. Buzz Williams leaving Virginia Tech after taking them to 3 straight NCAA tournaments and taking the job at Texas A&M. And the repercussions and fallouts that may come from that. So we'll talk about that coming up in just a little while with Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com. It has been a while, and there's been a lot of circumstances going into it. Number one, it's just been literally in the last handful of days that my voice has gotten as strong as you hear it now. It's still not 100%. But trying to do baseball and basketball while Bob Ritchie's team was still playing, it just wasn't getting any rest, and it remained gravelly and just could not shake whatever was in there. So it's just been really over the weekend, it seemed to strengthen during Furman's 3-game sweep of the Citadel. And so hopefully we're heading in the right direction. So that's been part of the issue. The other part has been the fact that we have been on the road a lot, and it's just been one thing after another. And then, you know, had planned on doing the show on Monday, but have been fighting with a tooth problem since really the beginning of basketball season, as Tom Van Hoy could attest. And it turned out that the thing was abscess. So Monday, the only day that I had off, quote unquote, this week, I went and had the tooth pulled. First time I've ever had that happen, and hopefully it is the last. That's all I will say about it. Yesterday was spent kind of recuperating and taking care of some office stuff. So here we are today, and catching up for the first time since, I think, March the 20th. So it's been about 2 weeks since we were here, and that was on a Wednesday, and that was a Dave Glenn visit as well. So we're looking forward to talking to him. And, of course, April is his wrap-up month until football season rolls back around again in August. So we've got about 4 visits left with Dave if we're able to stay on schedule, and we'll take advantage of them as best we can. Just a couple of things to kind of catch you up on. First of all, from a baseball standpoint, Furman had its 5-game winning streak come to an end last night. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit, but really had turned things around from a 7-game losing streak that had seen the Paladins score only 27 runs during that time frame, and then over the next 5 broke it out and scored 64 runs until Winthrop beat them last night 8-6 here at Latham Stadium to stop the streak. And the irony in that was Furman's 5-game winning streak started the previous Tuesday against Winthrop in Rock Hill, and going into that game, Winthrop had won 8 in a row. The Paladins had dropped 7 in a row, and that win by Furman started the 5-game losing streak and started Winthrop on a 4-game losing skid until last night. So it kind of comes full circle, as usually something it can only happen in the world of sports. Paladins are back on the road tonight. We'll take on Georgia State down in Atlanta, and I'll be there for the broadcast, 5:45 pregame and a 6 o'clock first pitch. So we'll talk more about Furman baseball coming up in a little bit. But I do want to talk about some baseball, but at the major league level, and something that happened last night in Philadelphia, or in Washington rather. Philadelphia going into Washington to begin a series. And, of course, that means that Bryce Harper goes back to D.C. for the first time since leaving the Nationals and signing that 13-year, $330 million contract with the Phillies. Now, both these teams are in the East. They are going to see each other a boatload of times this year. But here in the second series of the 2019 season, Philly goes into Washington. So you knew it was going to be a big-time night, and you knew it was going to be amplified by the fact that Max Scherzer got the start for the Nationals against Philadelphia. What I found interesting and a little bit head-scratching is that prior to the game, the Nationals played a video tribute to Bryce Harper. And it got me to wondering why. Now, had the Phillies or the Nationals traded Harper, and had they had an incredible amount of success with him at the helm, so to speak, leading that franchise, that would be one thing. But this is a guy who jilted them, who, while he was there, they never won a playoff series, and he decides to leave them for more money, which is his prerogative. No problem with that. That his contract was up. He was a free agent. He did what he thought was best for him. No problem with it. But why in this touchy-feely age that we live in would the Nationals play a tribute video for Bryce Harper after he, in effect, jilted them for a bigger name on the other line or a bigger paycheck on the other line? Like I said, had he been traded, and Jay Bruce is not the player Bryce Harper is, but, and I'm a Reds fan, so I always draw on these comparisons. But in 2016, I think, the Reds traded Jay Bruce, who was their number one overall draft pick a few years before and had been a good player in the Reds organization and had hit a memorable home run in 2010 that clinched the Central Division championship and sent them into the playoffs for the first time since 1995. What was a fan favorite, and the Reds traded him to try and better the franchise for the future. So the first time he came back, there was a tribute video for him, and I get that. I get that because it was the Reds who initiated the move and traded him away, and the career of Jay Bruce in Cincinnati will be one that will be looked at fondly. Bryce Harper's career in Washington, by and large, has to be looked at as a disappointment and close to a failure, if you want to get right down to it, because this is a guy who was a prodigy. Sports Illustrated did a feature on him at 16 years of age, going back 10 years, and he's supposed to be the guy that is going to be the next big thing in baseball. And to a certain extent, he's achieved some of that. He was the Rookie of the Year. He has won a Most Valuable Player award, and he does have 186 home runs through the first 6 years of his career, but he also hit 249 a year ago. He has not lived up to the expectations that were laid out before him, and perhaps nobody could have totally lived up to those expectations. But as I said, with him as the centerpiece, the Nationals were an abysmal failure in the postseason, having great regular seasons and then tanking in the first round of the playoffs year after year. So, to me, I don't understand why the Nationals felt necessary to honor him with a tribute video, which, by the way, the National fans booed when it played, and they booed Bryce Harper when he stepped to the plate the first time, which you expect would happen. And Max Scherzer struck him out twice. He later doubled off Scherzer, ended up getting 3 hits, including a 480-some-odd foot home run when the game was out of reach. And that kind of charged things up there in D.C. a little bit. But I just watched that yesterday or watched the reports because I was doing the Furman game. Went back and read some things about it this morning, and it just, I don't know. Maybe it's being too much old school. Maybe it's something else, but I just could not fathom, given the circumstances surrounding Bryce Harper's career in Washington and the fact that he basically left them for a bigger paycheck, which again is his right, but jilted them. Why would you play a tribute video for the guy? I just don't get it. It's not like he was traded. It's not like he had led you to previously unforeseen heights. In fact, he was the poster boy in a lot of ways for the disappointment that has been Washington over the last 6 years. And yet they decided to play a tribute video for him. And I found it very interesting that the fans in D.C. were having none of it last night. It was very, very interesting. All right, we need to take a break. We'll come back, and when we do, we'll spend a little bit of time on Furman baseball, and then we've got Dave Glenn at 10:25. Coming up at the end of the program, I've got an announcement to make that I'm really, really excited about, and looking forward to sharing that with you when we get toward the end of the program. Show is brought to you on a daily basis by our friends at Carolina Creative. Not just simple, but simply brilliant. And you're going to hear more about them coming up in this commercial set. But our thanks to Randy Looper and the folks at Carolina Creative for doing what they do. One other thing before we go to break and hear more about Carolina Creative, I just want to answer some questions that I'm still getting about my wife. Part of the reason that the show had gone away for an extended period of time was because of her surgery back on February the 5th. When we thought that she had colon cancer, and thank the good Lord, tests showed that was not the case. It was one step away from being cancer, so they caught it in time. But to answer the questions I'm still got them this morning. She is doing fantastic, and we just appreciate your thoughts and prayers, and hope that you'll continue to do so. She's moving around like she never had surgery, but there are still those moments. 2 months out of major surgery, she's not completely healed yet and won't be for a long time. So just continue to keep her in your prayers. But thank you for your inquiries, and she is doing wonderfully. We are very, very blessed. All right, to break, we'll come back and continue with more in just a moment here on the Dan Scott Show. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Danny Joyner. Years ago, my dad...
Hey everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
If you're looking for the perfect frame for that special photo or painting, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca can deliver for you. Family owned for nearly 4 decades, Trevor and the folks at Custom Corners Frame Shop pride themselves on quality, presentation, and professionalism. They offer picture framing for every budget, and every job is custom. Custom Corners Frame Shop also sells work from local artists as well as locally themed gifts. For more information, visit them at 289 Market Street in Seneca. Call 7736. Or find them on Facebook, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca.
Imagine a university. A university where your passion for protecting local water sources is encouraged. And now, your work not only benefits your career, but the health of those in your community and around the world. This is Furman. This is the Furman Advantage.
Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta Bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options. And yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626, or online at FaulknerFenceCompany.com.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
You probably saw me fumbling around going to break. Not only has it been such a long time since we've done the show on a consistent basis, but I've moved some things around on my little program I have on my iPad where I keep all the songs and spots and everything else, and I couldn't find my commercials. They were not where I had originally put them, but I found them, and here we are, and we're back, and we're ready to go. Good to have you along with us on this Wednesday edition of the show. The Paladin baseball team is mentioned coming up on a second midweek game tonight down in Atlanta, a 6 o'clock start, 5:45 pregame for Furman and Georgia State, trying to get back on the winning side of things before heading to Greensboro for a 3-game series this weekend in conference play. By sweeping the Citadel this past weekend, got the record back at 3-3 in the league and jumped from, I think, 8th place to 4th just by doing that with still a boatload of conference games remaining. Greensboro is always going to be a tough opponent, and Furman's biggest thing right now is injuries. Jabari Richards, John Michael Boswell both injured their hamstrings in Saturday's game against the Citadel. Neither played Sunday, neither played last night. The expectation is they'll be ready to go on Friday at Greensboro, but they were out of the lineup last night. And then in the 4th inning, Dax Roper was hit by a pitch on the middle finger of his right hand, his throwing hand. He's the catcher, and stayed in the game, caught the bottom caught the top of the 4th inning. He was hit in the 3rd, caught the top of the 4th inning, but just could not throw and was pulled from the game. Logan Kellerman caught the rest of the game. I saw him afterwards, and he had it taped up, said that trainer Mike Brown had popped it back into place, and they were hopeful that the swelling would go down overnight and he could actually be in the lineup today at Georgia State. We'll obviously have to wait and see if that's the case, but playing without your 3 biggest hitters in your lineup, or 3 of your biggest hitters in your lineup, take some of the firepower out. And Paladin struggled last night in that 8-6 loss. They left 13 runners on base and a bunch of them in scoring position. So try to get back on the winning track tonight, and then again conference play this weekend at Greensboro. 6 o'clock on Friday, 3 o'clock Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday. All right, right back to break we go. Dave Glenn will join us on the other side, and we got a lot to get to with him inside the workings of the ACC, and we'll do that in just a moment. This is the Dan Scott Show. Don't go away.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville is the Greenville Steakhouse. Why? Well, it starts with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago. The rest of the menu falls into place there. But it really goes beyond that. It's their level of service, their commitment to that service. The place is packed every night, and yet Billy and his staff have a way of making you and your table feel like you're the most important table in the place. They have lunch on Fridays and Saturdays, brunch on Sundays, live music every time the doors are open. The Greenville Steakhouse is Hall's Chop House, Main Street, downtown. Tell them you heard about them on the Dan Scott Show.
Mayhem is everywhere.
I'm a fight in the stadium parking lot. One of us was rooting for the home team. The other was also rooting for the home team, but misheard the first one. Them's fighting words. Now we're working this out all over your car. And this could last a while because we're evenly matched. We're both big. We're both better at punching stuff than doing puzzles. We both think Italy's in South America. We both peaked somewhere between 8th grade and the second time we took 8th grade. Oh, and while you were gone, we've both been rammed repeatedly by the other into your car. Our already scarred faces will heal, but if you've got cut rate insurance, you could be living with these dents. So get Allstate, where agents help keep you protected from mayhem. Like me.
Are you in good hands?
In Easley, it's Ray Williams, Allstate, 864-859-7504.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
Go the Distance Performance Coaching offers individualized coaching for distance runners of all ability levels, beginner to seasoned runner, and exists to help you achieve your running goals. All training plans are custom built, tailor-made just for you based on your experience, current fitness level, injury history, and goals. You're going to receive expert coaching from Hall of Fame runner Brock Bailey, and Coach Brock is ready to help you go the distance. You can find out everything you need to know about Go the Distance Performance Coaching and Brock Bailey at the website gocoach.run. Gocoach.run. That's Go the Distance Performance Coaching. All right, welcome back to the program as we continue live on this Wednesday on just a gorgeous day here in the upstate of South Carolina. It was chilly this morning, but talking about 75 degrees by the time the day is done. And, man, it is just beautiful as we look out the window of the broadcast booth here at Powelton Stadium across towards Paris Mountain. Good to have you with us, and good to be able to go back to the celebrity guest line and welcome in Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com, the syndicated David Glenn Show, and also now contributing to theathletic.com. He joins us, and as we were talking just a moment ago during the break, it's really too bad that there's nothing to get into where the ACC is concerned today. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. It's fun, of course, to have one of the ACC's teams still standing in the Final Four, but we've got, early NBA entries as usual. We have a coach on the move just, within the last few hours officially, although I think you and I talked about it as a probability. Buzz Williams leaving Virginia Tech for Texas A&M. ACC doesn't lose coaches very often in men's basketball or football, at least not, this way, them being hired away by another university. It's pretty rare, actually. But yeah, there are plenty of things to talk about, even as some fans are jacked up about spring football. There's still a lot of basketball to digest.
Yeah, so let's start with Buzz Williams and the Southeastern Conference is kind of making a push with its basketball coaches, trying to become more than just Kentucky and everybody else, and having some success in doing so. You look what Rick Barnes has done since taking over at Tennessee, and of course you put maybe an asterisk with what Will Wade did in his 2 years at LSU and the big question mark that is still there. But you're right, ACC coaches don't often leave ACC schools for other schools. Why was this job attractive to Buzz Williams? Did it come down to just money?
This is a classic example of where the surface look does not make sense. In other words, you and I were probably together almost 20 years ago, and in back-to-back years, the Texas Longhorns hired first Mac Brown in football away from UNC. That was 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And then Texas hired Rick Barnes away from Clemson in basketball, and that was 1998. So right there, boom, boom, you have two examples of something. But everybody knew that whereas Carolina has had a good program in football at times, including under Mac Brown 20 years ago, man, they were top 5 in the nation, top 10 back-to-back years. Everybody knows that Texas football is a bigger, better job than UNC football. Similarly, Clemson has a great football program. It's in the ACC, but it's only a nice basketball program. It's never won the ACC title, for example. So again, everybody understands Rick Barnes jumps to Texas, a bigger, better school with a bigger, better budget and bigger dreams in basketball, for example. The surface look with Buzz Williams doesn't explain it, but the deep dive does. And whereas Texas A&M does not have a very distinguished basketball history at all, there are two things, one of them very personal, that explain what just happened. And one of the two, of course, is what you just mentioned. When in doubt, follow the money. Texas A&M, for those who don't know, whether you measured that university in terms of its endowment, which is at least one symbol of how wealthy a university is, I mean, it's just cash, billions of dollars that you're paying for a lot of things off the proceeds of. Texas A&M has one of the biggest endowments of any university that plays major college athletics. If you measure it just by athletic department budget, put the university money aside, all right, how much are you spending and making on sports specifically? Again, and some people are surprised by this, but Texas A&M is one of the wealthiest, biggest spending, biggest money-making programs in all of college sports. So they used, remember, Jimbo Fisher, they got him from Florida State. That's a great football job. How'd they do it? They promised $75 million, all of it guaranteed. And Jimbo Fisher said, thank you very much, and left Tallahassee. Similarly, Buzz Williams, I don't have the exact number yet, but he's going to make a lot more than he could have made by staying at Virginia Tech. It's not going to be John Calipari $9 million a year money, but what he makes at Kentucky, which is kind of the standard bearer in men's basketball right now. But it's going to be many millions for Buzz Williams. The other part that helps explain it is that Buzz Williams is a state of Texas guy. That's where he's from originally. He has a lot of family and friends there. So big money plus personal ties. And maybe you could add, whereas Virginia Tech is viewed as a good football job, it has never been viewed as a great basketball job. Virginia Tech's basketball history is as thin as any of the 15 programs in the ACC. I mean, what they just did with the Sweet 16 was one of the 2 or 3 best seasons in the history of that basketball program.
Right.
So money plus personal ties, plus you're not leaving a great job. That's what explains this one. But you're right. I only found 6 examples in the last 20 years where an ACC men's basketball or football program lost its coach to another university while wanting to keep that coach. It just doesn't happen that often, but it's happened twice in the last 3 years with Actually, 3 times in the last 4 years. Jamie Dixon left Pitt for TCU in basketball. Jimbo left FSU for A&M 2 years ago. And now Buzz Williams today, it's official. He's leaving the Hokies for the Aggies.
Yeah, and all those things that you said about him being a Texas guy, all that's true. But if he's not having success at Virginia Tech, it doesn't come into play at all. And he, as of this year, had taken them to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments. And this year, as you mentioned, the Sweet 16, and came within an eyelash of making the Elite 8. So obviously, Texas A&M feels like they're getting a hot coach at the right time.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I described when Virginia Tech got him from Marquette, I described it as one of the greatest hires in modern ACC history because Marquette didn't appreciate fully what it had. And Buzz Williams took Marquette to 5 NCAA tournaments in 6 years as the head coach. 3 of those were Sweet 16s. One of the Sweet 16s led to an Elite 8 trip. And then he had 1 mediocre year, and he felt underappreciated. And Whit Babcock, the Virginia Tech AD, who had come from that league, knew that Buzz Williams was unhappy. And sure enough, and a mostly undesirable basketball job that's chewed up a lot of coaches. James Johnson, most recently, Virginia Tech. It is not one of the better ACC basketball jobs. Very good again in football, not in basketball. Buzz Williams was as good a hire as there's been in the history of Virginia Tech basketball. And I would argue one of the best in modern ACC history. As you said, 3 straight NCAA tournament trips, Sweet 16 this year with the Hokies, eliminated by a great Duke team. I mean, that could happen to anybody. And it was a classic example in his 5 years with the Hokies, losing season to start as he took time to build, NIT in year 2, and then 3 straight NCAA tournament trips. I mean, you combine his track record at Marquette and Virginia Tech, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that this guy is a program builder. He's a very good X and O guy. He's a very good identifier of talent. He gets his kids to play hard for him and buy into his system and his culture. We knew this was going to happen for weeks. We've been talking about it as virtually a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anybody's surprised. But yes, it is a rarity to see the ACC lose its coach that its school wanted to keep.
Yeah, so if trying to do my math on the fly is correct, and you can help me here in the 2 jobs combined leading into the move to Texas Tech, 11 years, 8 NCAA tournament appearances,
Yes.
3 Sweet 16s, and an Elite 8.
Total 4 Sweet 16s,
4.
and one of those was an Elite 8.
Yeah. How about that?
No kidding, man. I mean, unless you're Kay or Roy or John Calipari or a short list of others, Jay Wright at Villanova.
Tom Izzo, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's a top 10 or so resume right there.
So now it begs the question, where does Virginia Tech turn?
That's a great question.
And are they willing to come off the cuff with some money?
I think they are, because Virginia Tech football is so traditionally successful. Obviously, they had a rough year last year under Justin Fuente and just barely squeaked into a bowl game. But what Frank Beamer built there makes them a very viable athletic program. And, they had the money to lure Buzz Williams, and they're not going to be afraid to spend, mega millions to lure the next person. I don't have a great read yet on who it's going to be. But I know that the Hokies view their own basketball job much differently than they would have, when James Johnson was running the show, or, when Seth Greenberg had it. It was almost viewed as a miracle when the Hokies did something better than the NIT. And I mean, seriously, you go back many decades, NCAA tournament trips are rare. And Buzz Williams just took him to 3 straight. So the upside is Buzz Williams has turned it into a better job than it was the day he got there. And, Roy Williams can't say that, right? I mean, Dean Smith built the UNC juggernaut. Buzz Williams built Virginia Tech into a much better job over these last 5 years. So that at least gives the Hokies more of a calling card. Whereas, in the aftermath of the James Johnson debacle or some of the other disastrous hires that they've had, nobody wanted that job because you know how it works, Dan. Unless you're overspending, coaches, of course, ask, how much are you willing to pay me? Duh. But they also ask themselves always, can I win there? Can I win there? And if you're viewed as one of the worst jobs in any conference, these coaches can find budgets. What's your recruiting budget in the Southern Conference or the Sun Belt compared to all the teams you're coaching against? What's your pool of money for assistant coaches at this school in your league? It could be the Mid-American Conference, whatever, compared to the others in your league. You and I could build right now from 1 through 14 in football, 1 through 15 in basketball, if not, numerical order, which are the best jobs, which are the lesser jobs, we could at least put them on tiers. And whereas Virginia Tech would be one of the top 4 jobs in ACC football, it's still viewed as a bottom tier job in ACC basketball. Now, I think that's changing because of the Buzz Williams factor. More people care now, and more recruits can see it as a viable place where you can not only play in a great league, but you have a chance to win. You don't have to sell hope. You can sell reality. Buzz Williams just did it. We think our next guy can too. But, of course, the identity of that next guy is going to be a big deal. I don't have a handle on it really well at the moment. I just finally got official word a few hours ago that Buzz Williams had told his team that he's leaving. So I might be able to call you back later today and give you a better coaching carousel update.
This is Dave Glenn, ACCSports.com, the David Glenn Show, and also contributes to The Athletic. We talk ACC sports on Wednesdays from August to April. Scintillating game in the Elite Eight between Michigan State and Duke, a game that the Spartans won in the final moments to advance and keep Coach K and Zion Williamson and company from advancing on and getting to play for a possible national championship. And Dave, I have seen some things written nationally that you just don't see where Mike Krzyzewski is concerned, and that is criticism of some of the coaching decisions he made late in that game. The general consensus seems to be that Tom Izzo outcoached him in the final 2 or 3 minutes of that contest.
I think that was part of the equation. Now, I would circle that Duke lost by 1 point in a game that could have gone either way. So I don't think there was an avalanche advantage for Tom Izzo over Mike Krzyzewski. But the bottom line was Zion Williamson didn't touch the ball enough down the stretch. And that's partly on your coaching staff. That's partly on R.J. Barrett, who at times was a little bit too much of a ball hog this year for Duke, even as a mega-talented first-team All-American player and a guy who might be a top 2 pick in the NBA draft. When Zion touched the ball, better things happened for Duke. And down the stretch against Michigan State, there was one possession where Duke desperately needed a bucket. Zion got it on the left wing. There were clearly 3 defenders with their eyes on Zion. His main defender, of course, but then 2 help guys. If Zion went left, there was one guy there, and if Zion went right, there was another guy there. To his credit, and Zion, to me, has earned every last drop of hype and attention and headlines and, National Player of the Year awards. He's earned every bit of it. He's been better than advertised, I think. He found R.J. Barrett at the top of the key because of the extra attention he was getting. R.J. hit the 3. So in that case, it worked, even though Zion didn't end up taking the shot. Well, in several other possessions down the stretch, Zion never touched the ball at all. And, you can blame that on RJ. You can blame that on K. I think a really shaky supporting cast is a part of that. Why was Zion getting the attention of 3 defenders and RJ getting the attention of 2? Well, because Duke, and to me, this is an even bigger, I'll put it this way, the more fair-minded criticism of Mike Krzyzewski. There's a lot of articles about how one and done doesn't work, even though John Calipari used it in 2012 to a national title and Coach K used it 4 years ago to a national title. And as we've discussed in the past, yes, those teams had upperclassmen blending in with the superstar freshmen, and we all agree. K would tell you himself that's the ideal blend, but nobody who understands college basketball really thinks it's a good idea to stop recruiting one-and-done players altogether. I think the more fair criticism of Coach K is, why was your supporting cast no better in March or April than it was in November and December? Zion was better. R.J. Barrett was better. But Trey Jones was a great defensive point guard who distributed well but couldn't shoot a lick in November and December. And guess what? That's exactly what he was during March Madness. Cam Reddish was an underperforming prep All-American who didn't have a lot of confidence early and occasionally hit a big shot and was a good defender. But why was he mostly that same up and down player in March that he was in November and December? Why was Jack White, a team captain who was stroking threes in November and December, a completely invisible, lost his confidence non-factor in March, right? And there are other examples. That the supporting, I think you and I talked about it a lot. Duke had 3 warts: free throw shooting, and it came back to haunt them against Michigan State. 3-point shooting, and it came back to haunt them against Michigan State, and a completely unpredictable supporting cast. As we talk about Virginia being still alive in the Final Four, it's not just their stars that got them there. I mean, we all know Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, and DeAndre Hunter are superstars by the college definition of that. Kihei Clark to Mamadi Diakite is what got that bucket to send that Purdue game into overtime. That's what you need from your supporting cast at a clutch moment. It can't just be about your stars. Duke's supporting cast completely fell apart, maybe with the exception of Javin DeLaurier, who had a pretty good game against Michigan State. And that is a fair question to ask. If it's okay if the media talked and the fans talked about RJ and Zion all year, but something went horribly wrong when the players, 3 through 8 in your rotation, pretty much looked the same in March that they did in November and December.
Speaking of Virginia, a little bit of a nice turnaround compared to what happened to them a year ago. A little redemption for Tony Bennett and company.
No doubt about it. I'll tell you what, man, you and I are both family guys, and we've all had the phrase, we'd like our child to, meet somebody like so-and-so someday. Tony Bennett is that kind of person. He is one of the best people that I've gotten to know pretty well in my 30-plus years in this business. But I think his story, that redemption card that you just discussed, I don't care if I have a 19-year-old boy, a 16-year-old girl, not lots of nieces and nephews. All of us, you, me, and everybody else, can learn something from this story of redemption, because something not horrifically bad like, famine and death, but by the sports context, horrifically bad. The first one ever to lose to a 16 seed. That was 12 months ago. And instead of lying about it, complaining about it, blaming somebody else, pointing fingers, dodging questions, Tony Bennett, as the leader, and his players answered every question, sometimes even telling the media, you don't have to apologize for asking that question. It's a fair question. It had never happened before. We need to own it. We need to address it. And they didn't leave it as some little skeleton in the closet. They brought it out into the light of day. They talked about it. They swallowed their pride, and they went back to work. And what better life lesson is there than that when it comes to reacting to adversity? It took a village to pull off what Virginia just pulled off. And it was the 3 stars I mentioned. It was those supporting cast members I mentioned. It was the leadership of Tony Bennett. And Virginia earned it, right? Regular season co-championship, a number 1 seed, and then they, in nail-biting fashion at times, won their close games as Duke and Virginia Tech and others fell by the wayside on the second weekend. It's a hard thing to do to get to the Final Four. As you know, Virginia has a lot of haters and skeptics out there tied to its slow tempo. I've been a believer. I've been thinking it's only a matter of time. And I've told you, when he had better players in 2016, he took them all the way to the Elite Eight. Well, guess what? He had another great, more talented team this time. Not just defense, but talent to go with it offensively. And here he is still standing in the Final Four. It's one of the better stories, I think, in all of college basketball in a number of years.
So does this put those criticisms to rest, that style can't win big and won't win big at the highest level now that he's in the Final Four? Will that put it to rest?
I would hope it does, but check Twitter someday. We live in an angry, delusional world where people who have no clue what they're talking about often have very harsh opinions. That's just the world we live in. I've always separated the conversation into 2 branches, Dan, and I think you know this about me. I have never argued with anybody who says they don't like or enjoy Virginia's style. Right? They say it's like watching paint dry or grass grow, and they just don't like it. Well, that's an opinion. I would never tell anybody you're wrong if that's your opinion. That's like, you like carrot cake and I like cheesecake. It's just an opinion, whatever. There's really no debate to be had there. We all just have our likes and dislikes. But the whole I'm a basketball guru, and I have legions of these emails and tweets. DG or somebody else has no clue, and I'm telling you, this style of basketball will never win ... at a conference like the ACC. Well, Virginia has 4 of the last 6 regular season championships. Oh, well, it'll never win in the tournament environment. Well, Virginia has 2 of the last 6 ACC tournament titles, and that's at a school that hadn't won one since 1976. That's what Tony Bennett did there. Oh, but they'll never win in that bigger tournament context. Well, he went to the Elite Eight 3 years ago, and he's in the Final Four this year. I mean, at some point, smart people have to follow some facts. And we can make fun of the people who continue to live their lives while denying reality that's right in front of their nose.
Very interesting. Quickly before we let you go, early entries into the NBA, surprises, anticipating any surprises?
No, I mean, there's a couple worth watching, but Kai Bowman is gone from Boston College as expected. Tyus Battle is gone from Syracuse as expected. And when I say gone, that means not testing the waters. That means gone, signing with an agent, moving on. Nasir Little, the freshman forward at Carolina, a lot of fans pointed out, he has a lot to work on. He's not quite ready for the NBA. We all know when you have a lot of millions of dollars waiting for you somewhere in the first round, you're going to go even if you're not. Your game is not quite polished and ready for the NBA. So that was no surprise either. Other guys have not announced yet. But I'll tell you what, it's so crazy nowadays, Dan, that the best NC State signee, not only are we following like all ACC guys like Kai Bowman and Tyus Battle, of course Boston College and Syracuse are not going to be as good as they would have been had those guys stayed for their senior years.
Right.
It's to the point where, of course, Zion and RJ and Cam Reddish are leaving Duke. Some are wondering whether Trey Jones, the point guard, will leave because his draft status is not as high. But get this, NC State's best signee, I mean, a phenomenal talent. He's actually been called a baby Westbrook. His name is Jalen LeCue, and he's been signed with NC State for a while. He's a prep school guy. And because he's a year removed from high school graduation, his class's graduation, and because he turns 19 years old in this calendar year, he's arguing that he should be eligible for the NBA draft, even under the existing rules. So, I mean, imagine the difference if you're Kevin Keatts at NC State. You have possibly a game or program-changing player in Jalen LeCue who's going to come in and run the show for you with some other good talent returning versus that guy, being a none and done, even in the world of the one and done. So, yeah, there's a lot to follow there. Incoming transfers, outgoing transfers. You need a program to keep track of all these basketball rosters. And once the ball stops bouncing on Monday night, one of my big projects is going to be to put together, exactly who has what coming back. Because at places like Clemson, for example, or I think Virginia Tech with so many experienced players plus the coaching change, I don't know how the Tigers and the Hokies don't fall down the ladder a little bit, given what they're losing, unless they come up with some spring surprises on the recruiting trail.
Hey, as we get set to wrap it up, I don't know if there's anything to this or not, but just to kind of put a little bug in your ear, circling back to the Buzz Williams departure, Eric Boynton from the newspaper here in Spartanburg just kind of threw out this little possibility, wondering if Virginia Tech would possibly take a look at Wofford head coach Mike Young, who grew up 20 miles from Virginia Tech's campus.
Yes, I've been told that is at least somebody who is on their list. I can't take it any further than that.
Mm-hmm.
My producer, Darren Vaught of my radio show, happens to be an Emory and Henry graduate. And I joke with Darren, my guy, that he's the second most famous Emory and Henry graduate that I know, because Mike Young is also a product of that school, which is in the mountains of Virginia and not all that far from Blacksburg, as you mentioned. So it's a logical place to look. Virginia Tech clearly has preliminary interest there, but I think they have preliminary interest in 3 or 4 others as well.
Yep. All right, tell folks how they can get more of this great coverage.
You know the deal. ACCsports.com is our Grand Central station. Spring football, some baseball, a lot of basketball, and there's plenty of that. Recruiting, of course. That's our Grand Central station, and we do hope folks will check out my work at theathletic.com. The Athletic Carolina is the sub-website. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at ACC Sports or at David Glenn Show.
Wait. Either I'm getting old and my hearing is going, or you said the word baseball in your coverage.
Yes. Well, it's only been a smaller part, like a women's basketball and some other sports.
I understand.
Once we get you on the board of directors, I know our college baseball coverage is going to rise.
I am for hire, my friend. All right. Hey, Dave, as always, man, great stuff. Thank you.
Always fun, Dan. Take care, bud.
That is Dave Glenn of ACCsports.com. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on this edition of the Dan Scott Show coming up in just a moment. When you're looking for the home of a lifetime, you need a realtor you can trust. With more than 27 years' experience selling real estate, Gel Sartain is the choice to help the discriminating buyer find the home of their dreams. Licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, Gel specializes in homes on beautiful lakes Hartwell and Kiwi, as well as the surrounding areas, and has a wealth of experience working with people with technical backgrounds. Now is the time to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Clemson-Seneca area. Let Gail help you realize that dream today. Call her at 404-317-3171. That's Gail Sartain, a member of the National Association of Realtors.
We're all trying to find our way, forge a path, blaze a trail. The work is hard, and the work is personal. But you can't do it alone. At Furman, we're committed to giving you an advantage, the Furman Advantage. We know that graduates who are emotionally supported and who have deep learning experiences in college are 3 times as likely to be engaged at work and thriving in life. At Furman, all students are guaranteed 4 years of rigorous classroom education integrated with high-impact research, internships, study away, and a community of support every step of the way. This is the Furman Advantage.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott. I've been telling you for some time now that I switched the protection of my home and family to Security Complete. I can tell you that I've been ecstatic with the results. Locally owned with more than 40 years experience in the industry, Security Complete uses nothing but the latest technology, which equals low overhead, which equals greater savings to the customer. Fully automated systems with monitoring rates much lower than the competition. Security Complete gives you all this and does not require a contract of any length. Find out more by calling 864-546-0630 or find them on Facebook and Twitter. Security Complete, my first line of defense. Make them yours today.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show. What great stuff from Dave Glenn. Good to have him back, and it's good to be back, and looking forward to continuing keeping things rolling along. Now, this may be the only show that we do this week, but I'm hoping next week to be able to get back and start getting back to a regular schedule. But it kind of just felt right being back and going at it again today and having Dave with us. By the way, if you missed any of that, it will be up in podcast form, and I'll be putting that out via my social media here in just a moment as soon as the show is over. All right, I promised you an announcement. I said big announcement just to kind of get your attention. You can decide how big it is or not. But, last season, Tom Van Hoy and I filled in over the second half of the year on the Greenville Drive broadcast for Ed Jensen, who had been the only voice that the Greenville Drive had known in the franchise's existence since coming in here back in, 2006, I guess, 2005, whenever it was. Unfortunately, Ed is not going to be able to continue in that role. He is just too ill. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with him. And I met with Eric Jarinko, the general manager of the Drive, earlier this week, and we have come to an agreement and very happy to announce that Tom and I will be serving as the voices of the Greenville Drive for the upcoming 2019 season, which starts with the opener tomorrow night at 7:05, and it's always a big deal when the Drive opens. It's such a great venue and such a great facility. The people there, every year they do something else to enhance the fan experience. And then on top of all of that, you have this, that Dustin Pedroia will be with the Drive on opening weekend on a rehab assignment. The 13-year Major League vet, former MVP, World Series winner with the Red Sox, 35 years of age, going to be rehabbing as he's working his way back to the Red Sox lineup, and he will be in the lineup tomorrow, opening day for the Drive. So we're looking forward to that. Talked to Cam White, the media relations guy, yesterday and asked him, what kind of crowd they were expecting for opening night. And he said, I talked to the ticket office, and they've been selling about 100 tickets a day. And then the Red Sox announced Pedroia was going to be there, and the first day after that announcement, they sold over 1,000 tickets. So I expect we'll have a sellout there tomorrow, and look forward to bringing you those games. Now, Furman obviously is going to take precedence for me. I first of all have to thank Mike Buddy, the athletic director, for allowing me the opportunity to do this around my Furman duties. But that's no big deal, because the games that I can't be there, Tom will handle solo, and the broadcast will go over as expected. A year ago, the Drive broadcast at MILB.com, the video feed, ranked in the top third of all minor league broadcasts in the entire landscape of minor league baseball, over 160 franchises, ranked in the top third as far as average viewers per game. So a lot of people are checking it out, and Tom and I are happy to be part of it and looking forward to bringing you the Drive action beginning with the opener against the West Virginia Power tomorrow night. I'll actually do one game and then go to Greensboro for Furman's weekend series, and Tom will have the rest of the weekend for the Drive, including fireworks Friday night and everything else that goes on. But again, I'm just really excited and really grateful for the confidence that Eric and the folks at the Drive have in us, and for my boss here at Furman, Mike Buddy, for allowing me the opportunity to do it. Looking forward to getting behind the microphone for probably end up being close to 60 of the 70 games that they broadcast at home, which with my Furman duties will put me about 110, 115 games this year, which will be the most that I've ever done in a year. So you better like baseball if you're going to do that, and I certainly do. I'm excited and looking forward to getting involved. You can watch the games at MILB.com. That requires a very inexpensive subscription, or you can listen free at the Greenville Drives channel on the TuneIn Radio app. So 7:05 tomorrow is the opener, and Tom and I will be there to bring that one to you. With that, we're going to say goodbye and look forward to getting back with you again. I'm going to guess maybe Friday, but probably Monday. And looking forward to multiple shows next week. Our thanks again to Dave Glenn. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next time. Until then, for all of us here, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. So long, everybody. Go out and make a positive difference in somebody else's life.